did the Anunnaki make us or tamper with our genetics? Great question. So this is what happened. The Anunnaki didn't make human beings. We were already here, but it wasn't human. It wasn't Homo sapiens sapien. It was our cousins. We had cousins here. Okay. Our cousins were hominids, upright bipedal bilateral hominids that look very similar to us. Their bones have been found all over the world, even though they claim they can't find the missing link. These bones look just like us, except their heads and skulls are much bigger jaws. These people were massive. They had bigger brains. They may have been more intelligent than us spiritually, probably had larger pineal glands. And then at some point, the Anunnaki, who were mining, according to them, not according to me, mining this planet for resources, creating a breakaway civilization for themselves, and doing a lot of hard labor, were getting ready to go to war against each other because one faction didn't want to keep doing all the work. And they were like, well, how come we're working like slaves, so on forth and so on. So what they did was they came to an agreement. This is in the Epic of Atrahasis, by the way. If you read the Epic of Atrahasis, they came to an agreement that they could take the existing hominid on this planet, see existing already here, and they could genetically modify it by adding their essence to it. That's a genetic modification, and get it to do the labor for them. So they didn't make people from scratch. They genetically modified a cousin of ours, a deep and in antiquity cousin, and created from there Homo sapiens sapien. And how did they do it? Isis, world famous Isis from her all about from the Egyptian text. She said, this process of cloning the beings is taking too long and tedious. They need to replicate for themselves. So she took one of these hominid cousins of ours, took the egg out of the womb, cleared out some of the genetic material, added their essence or genetic material, created a zygote, basically in modern terms, as we call it a zygote now, inserted it into her womb and took the baby to term for 10 months. And then there's a famous cylinder scroll with this whole story. She's holding the baby up after 10 months. She says, my hands have made it. The Adamu, which means first man, Adamu. That's where Adam comes from in the modern day Bible, the name Adamu, which means first man. And so there began the first Homo sapiens sapien, the more advanced version of a Homo sapien that can actually go out and reproduce by having sex with its mate, and then they can have offspring and so forth and so on. And they weren't the first, and they weren't the only Homo sapiens that were done in this way or born in this way. There were dozens and dozens, because they understood that you had to have a diverse genetic pool or gene pool to be able to continue to build a population without having birth defects and genetic deformities. Anybody who's still walking around this planet that believes that two people populated the earth, they got to be out of their doggone minds. They got to be, bye-bye, they're gone, okay? Because anybody who knows anything about basic genetics, two people can't populate a planet. We wouldn't have gotten this far, because after the second or third generation, everybody would have been mentally ill, deformed, birth defected, and everything else. We wouldn't have made it. We'd had all kind of strange tumors and all kind of stuff, right? So that story is false. The truth is, in the Sumerian tablets, you see that they had created this Eden, Edin, and in this Eden, they had already put hundreds of Homo sapiens in there, and they would have them mate at specific times of the day. It was like a farm, and like you see, you have the horses in the farm and in the barns. You bring the male horse out to mate with the female horses on these set times and dates and everything else to ensure that they get pregnant, so they can breed more horses, so they can race them and sell them for this and that. Well, that's the same thing they were doing with human beings. Okay, it was a breeding farm at the Eden, which was like a outdoor laboratory, basically, with guards. It had guards. It had guards in the Bible version, and had guards at the gates in the Sumerian version. And these guards will kill you if you get out of line, in both places, in the Bible and in the Sumerian tablets. They will kill you. So it's pretty interesting that they had to have guards there to protect this breeding area where they had the people. And so they tamper with our genetics. This is where we get the book of Genesis, generations of Isis, Genesis. The book of Genesis is the generations of Isis. And now you know why. All right. Thanks, Trina. Good question.